Today, we're diving into something pretty radical. It's a plan not just to make AI a little better, but to scrap it and replace it entirely by basically coding nature's own blueprint directly into our digital world. Okay, let's get right into it. What we're unpacking today, it isn't just some new app or a slightly faster chip. No, the source material we're looking at from a project called Tokum.ai throws down a fundamental challenge to the entire trillion-dollar artificial intelligence industry. It's arguing we are on the verge of moving from an era of just guessing to an era of actually knowing. And this isn't some polite suggestion. It's framed as an intervention. The core message is a direct, really urgent warning to the people building our digital future. It basically says the current path we're on with AI is a catastrophic mistake. The stakes, well, they couldn't be higher. So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll tackle the main accusation, why current AI is just a big guessing machine. Then we'll look at the alternative, nature's own operating system. After that, we'll explore this new architecture of truth it inspires, see how that could create a whole new economy of contribution, and finally, we'll walk through the three-phase plan to actually get there. All right, first up, the big problem. The source material doesn't just say current AI is a little flawed, it uses a much, much stronger phrase, thermodynamically doomed. And look, that's not just some marketing buzzword, that is a statement about the laws of physics. So what's the big mistake they're talking about? It's that large language models, the tech behind tools like ChatGPT, are what critics have famously called stochastic parrots. Stochastic is just a very fancy scientific-sounding word for random probability. See, these systems don't understand your questions. They are just making unbelievably sophisticated guesses about which words are most likely to follow each other, all based on the trillions of words they vacuumed up from the internet. This analogy really just nails the core issue, doesn't it? The AI can tell you that Paris is linked to France because it's seen that pattern a billion times. But it's just like a librarian who has memorized the location of every single book, but can't actually read them. There is zero comprehension of what Paris actually is. It's a perfect simulation of intelligence with none of the actual substance. And this leads to two huge, critical failures. Over on the left, you've got thermodynamic failure. That's the insane, brute force energy it takes to power this massive guessing game. We're talking terawatts of power. And on the right, you have semiotic failure. This means the system has the word, the sign, but it has absolutely no connection to the real-world thing it represents. It's like having a map with no connection to the actual territory. So here's the absolute kicker. It all comes down to this efficiency gap. The entire argument really hinges on a simple law of physics. Systems that are this unsustainable, they eventually fail. It's inevitable. So betting our entire future on a technology that basically needs a power plant to write a poem, well, as this source argues, that's a strategy that's completely doomed from the start. Okay, so if the current model is totally broken, where do we even begin to look for a better one? The answer apparently isn't in some high-tech lab. It's literally all around us. The source material tells us to look at the most complex, most efficient information processor we know of, nature itself. Now, the fundamental building block of nature's OS is something called the Holon. This is a concept from Arthur Koester, and a Holon is anything that is both a complete whole in and of itself, while also being a functioning part of a much bigger whole. A great example is a heart cell, right? It's a whole, complete cell, but it's also a part of the heart, which is part of the circulatory system, and on it goes. And what's so cool about this slide is you can see the principle in action. You go from a single neuron to the entire brain. Nature builds these systems of just breathtaking complexity. And the rule is simple. The part serves the whole, and the whole guarantees the part's existence. And think about this. There is no central CEO telling every single cell what to do. It just works. So this gives us a totally new model for how to organize things. Instead of a rigid top-down hierarchy where all the power is stuck at the top, nature uses what's called a holarchy. It's a network of autonomous parts that all work together using shared rules, not top-down commands. Power isn't concentrated, it's distributed across the network. Okay, let's get into the tech. How do you actually translate this biological blueprint into code? Well, the proposed solution is a brand new protocol they call the Tokumizer, and it's designed to build verifiable meaning right from the ground up. So here's the three-step process. First, you create a totally unique ID for a single concept, like an atom. They call this a CCI. Then you combine two of those concepts to create a new unique relationship, like a molecule. That's a CPI. And finally, you combine these into a verifiable statement that has clear origins, a CTI. The point is, you're not guessing at relationships. You are building them with mathematical certainty. This creates something the source calls causal emergence, which is this wild idea that 1 plus 1 can actually equal 3. See, when you verifiably link two unique concepts, the relationship between them becomes a third, brand new, addressable piece of information. So unlike a black box AI where you have no idea how it got its answer, this process is totally transparent by its very design. You can always trace an idea back to its roots. And this architecture is built to scale across 3 different layers of reality. It starts with you, the individual, your own private context, that can then connect to a shared layer for groups or maybe your company. And finally, there's a universal layer of public, verifiable truth. And the key here is that the system lets all these layers talk to each other, so your private views can connect to universal truth without being corrupted. Now, just having a new information architecture, that's not enough. You need a new economic engine to power it. And this is where we shift from the technical how to the much bigger why, with a concept they call agapistic influence. The fundamental shift is this. Our current economy is pretty much based on extraction. That creates artificial scarcity and drives profit. This new model, though, is based on contribution. The goal isn't to accumulate more stuff than everybody else. It's to reduce the stress on the entire system. The driving force, which they call agapism, is defined as kind of an evolutionary love, this deep impulse to improve the health of the whole system. And the analogy from the source just makes this crystal clear. Think about it. A healthy liver cell doesn't try to hoard all the body's blood for itself, right? Its job is to process blood for the good of the entire organism. Its goal is homeostasis, or balance, and that is the ultimate form of stress reduction. And this goal is powered by a 5-step virtuous loop. It's pretty straightforward. You see a problem, you define the gap between how things are and how they should be, you initiate a change, you influence the system by doing things that reduce stress, and you generate a new, healthier state. The whole system is designed to be self-healing and incredibly resilient. Look, I know this all sounds incredibly ambitious, almost like science fiction. So the final piece of the puzzle is the actual practical plan. How in the world do you get from here to there? Well, the source material lays out a surprisingly pragmatic 3-phase roadmap. It all kicks off with phase 1, a normal centralized company, Tokum.ai, that builds the initial infrastructure we need. Then, in phase 2, the ownership gets transferred to a nonprofit, Tokum.org, to make sure it always serves the public good. And finally, in phase 3, the whole system becomes a fully decentralized, self-regulating public utility, a true holonocracy, running on the laws of physics. And all of this leaves us with the one central question of this entire explainer. After seeing the deep critique of our current path and this incredible alternative vision inspired by, 3.8 billion years of R&D, you have to ask yourself, is this even possible? Can we really pivot from a path of brute force guessing to one of elegant biological knowing? The final message here is both a bet on physics and a call to action. The core argument is that at the end of the day, efficiency always wins. The choice we have is between a system that burns terawatts to guess and one that sips milliwatts to know. That choice is ours to make.